And that's all you need. And then like just be straight with her. Because if this is what you're doing the whole time, if you're just going like this, like, hey, 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 that's fucking creepy. Right? So like flirting too much is like how you become a creep. So the first question comes from Andrew H.I. I have difficulty meeting women and I feel like I want to curb my sexual desire because that's something I can't have even though I still want it. Also, I know that focusing on my life and improving myself are better pathways to finding a relationship. I just get the feeling that if I just focus on myself all the time, then I will avoid opportunities that come up. How would you suggest to reconcile those two feelings? Also, most of the social events outings I attend are mostly male-dominated. On the other hand, the things that I do go to with women, I end up focusing on the event and enjoying myself. Do you think you could shed any light on my situation? Talk about a good question. Okay. So let's just think about this for a second, okay? So the first thing that he's saying is... So it sounds like Andrew's done his homework, right? So there's a common sense... So if you're interested in meeting... Let's just assume a heterosexual relationship where we're thinking from the perspective of the man for a moment. So if you're a dude who's interested in meeting women, one of the most common pieces of advice is that you should just focus on yourself and like the women will come. I think that's a really great attitude, and we'll talk a little bit about why that is. But I think Andrew's question is really good because he's done some research and he's sort of found out that, okay, like, for example, he goes to an event and he just ends up like trying to enjoy himself. And what he's heard is that unless, if you just focus on yourself and you try to have a good time, that like the women will come. And then he's doing that and he's like, dude, where are the women? I was promised the women. Like, where are the women? I'm focusing on myself. I'm not chasing after people. I'm not being a nice guy. There's no one-itis. That's the, like, I was promised women. So he's trying to figure out, how can I reconcile finding a relationship and looking for a relationship with sort of this idea of just focusing on yourself? And I think that's, in a weird way, there's no simple answer there, except that it's a balance between the two. So I think the reason that people say that you should focus on yourself is because a lot of dudes focus too much on a relationship, right? And what happens is they start to invest their time in a particular person. So let's talk a little bit about nice guys in the friend zone and like how guys end up in the friend zone. So the friend zone starts with a lack of confidence. So if you're interested in a woman and you're afraid that if you ask her out, she's going to say no, you exhibit some degree of avoidance. You don't put yourself out there. You don't ask her out. And then you're kind of afraid that like she's going to say no. So like, what do you do in that situation? You want to increase your chances of her saying yes. And how do you do that? Like, you do nice stuff for her, right? So if you can get her to like you more, then when you ask her out, she's more likely to say yes. It's completely logical. So you start to invest in the relationship. You start to pick her up from the airport. You start to help her out when she's sick. You bring her chicken soup. You help her with her homework. And then there's like the most dreaded thing, which is that like you listen to her when she, is bitching about the dudes that she's dating. And then like if you get like really deep into it and you really lose sight of all perspective, then you do things like get her flowers on Valentine's Day as a friend. Right? Yeah, so Matt the Strummer saying you power level her in MMOs. Abso-fucking-lutely. That's it, right? So you invest, and the idea here is in your mind, there's a part of your mind that says, she's going to turn me down if I say no, if I ask her out. So what can I do to like increase the chances of her liking? How can I demonstrate my value to her? And you invest in the relationship, you invest in the relationship, and you invest in the relationship. And then one day, your love reaches a critical mass and you confess your love for her, right? It's not, you don't ask her out, like you confess your love. Like that's apples and oranges. The scenario that we're talking about is that your love and the tension around that love rises and rises and rises, and then there's a confession. There's a, I've loved you like a goddamn anime. You confess your love for her. And then what happens is she says the dreaded words, I think of you like a friend. I don't think of you like that. Right? And so then what does that do to your confidence? It knocks your confidence down a peg. And so you kind of get over it. You meet another girl. And then your confidence is even lower. So as you enter the second relationship, you feel like you have to invest more. Because the problem was that you didn't do enough for her. You didn't demonstrate your value. You didn't get her to see that you didn't like show her how caring you are. So you kind of double down on your strategy, and then you like go back to like doing even more stuff for her. And so that cycle repeats itself. And each time you get rejected, you feel less confident. And then you feel like you have to do a lot more stuff to win her over. And then at some point, these people get so frustrated that they like go to the internet, and then someone tells them, or like friends, they tell them, hey man, like stop investing all your time in women, just invest your time in yourself. Like just go to the gym, work out, take care of yourself. And then as confidence rises because you're taking care of yourself, then it becomes easier to ask women out. So like that's where the conundrum comes from, right? Like do you chase after women or do you invest in yourself? And I think that the simple answer is like, it's got to be a little bit of both, right? Because I think what Andrew H.I. unfortunately is discovering is that just because you start investing in yourself doesn't mean that women start throwing themselves at you. And this is a brutal truth that especially people who are doctors realize. Like a bunch of my buddies from med school, they're kind of thinking like, oh, you know, like chicks dig doctors. So once I become a doctor, I'm going to have to beat them off with a stick. And they become a doctor, and then suddenly nothing happens. That's just, and they're surprised. So I think what you've got to do is something in the middle, right? So like understand that investing in a particular relationship with the hope that she's going to fall in love with you is generally speaking a mistake. And just waiting for women to come along or the gender that you're attracted to just come along and be amazed by at how amazing you are is also going to fail. So instead, if you meet a girl, I think you should be authentic with her. And generally speaking, what women find creepy is not just like, is not you asking them out, but just, you know, like, is like when you kind of, you flirt and you're kind of like unclear, or you like nag them and all that other shit that people swear by on like the red pill and the pickup artist forums and things like that. You just like treat them like a human being, and you say, like, you walk up to them and you say, hey, how are things going? Like, I've really enjoyed being in class with you for the past couple of weeks, and I'd like to get to know you better. Are you interested in grabbing dinner sometime? And that's it. And then if you want to, you can even throw in a little bit of flirt, right? Like you can, like, you want to grab dinner sometime? Like that's all it takes. You guys see that? If you guys want to see how well that works, you guys should watch the interview with Anna. Right? Were you guys there? Can we get a clip of that? I'm pretty sure that there was, so I mean, you can be flirtatious. We can teach you how to flirt. Like you guys see that, right? Like the facial expression. We played this game before, like the facial expression game. Where it's like, hey, how you doing? That's all it takes. Right? It's not hard. You don't have to have a long speech. Like you just, yeah, like, you know, and you don't want to overdo it, right? It just, you need just a little bit of it. And that's all you need. And then like just be straight with her, because if this is what you're doing the whole time, if you're just going like this, like, hey, 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 that's fucking creepy, right? So like flirting too much is like how you become a creep. Like just a little bit of flirt, a lot of authenticity, and then move on. I think that's what you got to do. And so what I would tell Andrew H.I. is like, yeah, you should continue like investing in yourself. and like just, focus on yourself. But if you see a girl that you're attracted to, or a dude, that you can throw in a little bit of flirt, and a lot of the flirt is in the eyebrows, like flirting comes from confidence and stuff like that, right? And then just ask them out, be authentic. Yeah, so I mean, the other simple thing that Andrew is not doing, if we listen to his questions, it doesn't sound like he's actually asking women out, right? Like I'm just going to read this to you again, but I have difficulty meeting women, and I feel like I want to curb my sexual desire because that's something I can't have, even though I still want it. So that also is a whole different complex. Like I mean, curb your sexual desire in terms of, don't be sexually inappropriate with people. But if you have sexual desire, that's fine. I think it's fine to, want to be sexually active with someone, or in general, or with someone. Also, I know that focusing on my life and improving myself are better pathways to finding a relationship. I just get the feeling that if I focus on myself all the time, then I will avoid opportunities that come up. That's absolutely true. So you don't want to focus on yourself all the time. You want to focus on yourself for most of the time. And when you go to an event where there's a woman that you're attracted to, like, even if you've never met her, you can just walk up to her at the end of the event and say, hey, I'm at this event and I'm here to just have a good time with my buddies. But to be completely honest, I just cannot, I keep on looking at you and I'm sorry. And I was just wondering, is there any way that I could buy you dinner sometime? And then even if she shoots you down, she's going to smile and she's going to laugh. And let your ego just take a dose of that, right? Because even if she turns you down, she's going to feel amazing, and you can feel amazing for letting her feel amazing if you're not fucking caught up in your head. Yeah. So it sounds like I'm just tapping into Twitch chat for a second. And so I'm confused about whether people want dating advice or they want to date me. How do you work up the courage to do that? What is courage? What do you mean courage? What are you afraid of? Right? What are you afraid of? That she's going to say no? There's a decent chance she's going to say no. This is something, so if you guys are having trouble meeting women, you guys got to come on stream and we got to talk about this. Because you're so afraid of the possible outcome that you're not willing to even try. That's the problem. What are you afraid of? That she's going to say no? That's fine. Why isn't it okay for her to say no? And this is where you have to think a little bit about how you view yourself, right? So you're afraid that you're not worth dating. And so since you try to keep that fear of your lack of value as a partner at bay, you try to put your head in the sand. And if you get any sort of external evidence to support the idea that you're not worth dating, then that's too much for you to bear. So if you want to be this all has to, if you're having trouble asking women out, you've got to stop and think a little bit about yourself and think how do you feel about yourself? Do you feel like you're worthwhile to date? Do you think you're a worthy person to date? What is the answer to that question? I think that's what we really have to dig into. Why do you feel like you're not worthy of dating? Because if you feel like you're worthy of dating, you should be comfortable enough to ask someone out. And you just acknowledge that, chances are let's say 50, 60% of women are in relationships. 40%? I don't know what the number is. And if they're in relationships, there's a decent chance they're going to say no. But what I want you to do when you ask a girl out is I want you to watch her face and then ask yourself, did I make her feel good by asking her out? Because this is an important thing, because if you're a fucking creeper and you pay attention to them, then you're going to see that you didn't make them feel good, and that's a problem. And you should know that. And if you did, like, even if she turns you down, like, if you make her feel good, like, that's fine. You could, that's okay. Like, you made her feel good. Like, what that means is that if she was available, like, if you made one girl, like feel appreciated and you made her feel attractive by asking her out, like, you can do that again. Just get out of your own head. All right, moving on to the next question.